Okay, my friends, here it is. The Saturday morning live stream at the Garden Like a Viking headquarters, Zone 5/6. Unfortunately, the YouTube overlords have decided that no longer can you do landscape mode on the mobile app for the live streams. So they've taken that option away. So they want everyone to do it like this. So we have to roll with it. So you got to give me a moment so that I can. I didn't realize that it was finalized until I started this stream. So you got to give me a moment to find my orientation here. I know it's completely ridiculous, but you just got to roll with it because what are you gonna do? You can't. You get no say in anything whatsoever. When you're a content creator, you get zero say whatsoever. You just got to do what they say. So let me rearrange this thing real quick, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. Now we will take this and put it over here. Okay. Well, we're going to rearrange it here for a little bit more. Yeah, that's the thing about live. You get no practice runs. No practice runs. Okay. So, let me scoot you a little bit closer. Okay, looks like we're hanging out, guys. Here is the live stream orientation now. So, just get on with it. All right, guys, let me know where you're at, what you got growing, what you're planting for the fall garden. Let me know. Yeah, a little bit disoriented here. It's all good. So let's see. Kim Knuckles says, I've been making aerated compost tea and my plants are loving it. Oh, yes, they are. They definitely will love it, guys. Hello, Freebird. Good to see you as well. They will love the aerated compost tea, guys. That's all that they really need. And so if you're not on that train yet, you need to get on that train. Okay. Let's see. Cunning Linguistics says, I just hit the like button. Yes, guys. Yes. Sharon says, rarely see Nate frustrated. Yeah, it's a rarity, but in the moment, you know, I can feel frustration for sure. But you got to roll with it, definitely. And that just means that I need to get streaming software, which I've been trying to do for like a week, 2 weeks now. But there's so many options and there's so much, it's so wildly confusing and stuff to somebody like me. That's why I liked the mobile app. You just press live and then you go. But no, they're forcing you to do this thing only, which is my least favorite of any mode possible. So we just have to get streaming software, but it's like $25 a month for the software. But anyways, all right, guys, let's see what's up with your gardening. Okay, Patricia says, is your sound low? Yeah, I didn't do the sound check, but I'm sure they changed something with that too. So let us see. How is it sounding, guys? How's the sound? Huh? Marigold. How did I sound on the... Okay, thank you, Signal Lost. Thank you. Rick says, lots use StreamYard. Okay, I will have to check into that, StreamYard. Yes, I am not a tech-savvy kind of person, and so I just do enough to make it work. That's all. I'm not like all into the different streaming softwares and all the different computer, this and that. I don't care at all. Only so much as far as it gets the job done. Let's see. Brittany Lee says, in Lincoln, Nebraska, was wondering how long should onions sit outside to dry out after harvest for long-term storage? Well, that depends. It depends on several factors. One of them is how humid it is. So right now it is very humid here in northern Indiana. And they are outside because I harvested some onions. Some of the red onions were past ready to harvest. So we harvested them and they are hanging. They've been hanging for a few days. But you see here how you can still see the green, how the green is still green. And it's starting to turn brown. See, it'll start at the lowest tips and it kind of draws the life force up into the bulb. And so you want to wait at least until the greens are completely brown. You want to wait until the greens are completely brown. I got something in my eye. I'm just all disoriented today. So you want to wait until they're all completely brown. All right. But not too long though. So you don't want to leave them out for like a month and a half, because then they're gonna turn soft. So you want to harvest them, and then right when they are crispy, when all of this is crispy and dry, then you can bring them in. So about 2 weeks, give or take, maybe 3, depending on the humidity. But man, whoever gave me this recommendation, guys, thank you. Because I made an onion video, and then someone said that this variety, which I forget its name, it's like Rosa de something, it's an Italian variety, said this is hands down my favorite onion. So I looked it up, and then it said it's very good for storage as well. So I thought, whoa, okay, well, then I will check it out. And so I immediately got some seeds, and they got started late, but they worked out anyways. Guys, this onion is delicious. I was growing the Weathersfield Red for several years, but this will definitely be my new favorite onion. I will probably grow this in place of the whites, because I usually do about 3 times the amount of white onions as yes, Meyer lemons, Rosa de Milano. I'm growing those too. They're wonderful. Yes, super delicious. I mean, sweet and just full of flavor, and they're unlike any onion. They're unlike any onion that I've had, really. So I will be growing mostly these, definitely next year. So we will see. But then there's, of course, the yellow of Parma, the white onions, which are fantastic. More pungently onion. These aren't like super pungently onion flavored, if you know what I mean. They're more of a sweet, almost fruity kind of flavor. Very good, yeah? So we'll see how they store, but they're not going to last, because I only did like maybe 50 of them. They're not going to last. I cook with onions and garlic every day, pretty much. So, yeah, and they're a good medium-sized onion. This is one of the bigger ones. They're medium-sized, but I'm not like those people you see online and stuff that everyone's about, oh, how you got to get big onions, get them big old onions. But I never see the point of having big onions, really, because you can only use so much in a dish. And I cook with them all the time, and this is as big as I would want the onion, really. Because then you got to save it, and it's not good fresh, and onions absorb a lot of odors, and they absorb things from the atmosphere. That's why it can be good if you get like a sting or something. You put an onion on it, and it can pull it pulls. It's like a poultice type, you know, it will do that. So it will do that in the refrigerator as well, or just sitting out. It will like pull the odors or the things out of the atmosphere. So you really want to use the fresh onions when you're cooking. So to have great big onions doesn't do anything for me. So I'd rather have them, this is as big as we would like them, guys. Yes, definitely. I cook with these, Bill. Yes, not a problem. I love it. So let's see here. That guy Chris says, question, what do you suggest to use as a repellent for Japanese beetles? Guys, help that guy Chris out. What do you use as a repellent for the Japanese beetles? Because for me, there's nothing. There's nothing that really does it. So some years are worse than others, but this year I've just seen a couple of them here and there. But about 3 or 4 years ago, it was bad. There was a lot of them. But that was the last time, 3 or 4 years ago, that was the last time I will ever use those traps. You know, those bags with the hormone, because I feel like it just attracted so many more. I mean, they were swarming around that thing, but they were still decimating my plants as well. So they don't really do anything. I mean, in my opinion, you just kind of got to let it go. They come in waves. The Japanese beetles will come in waves. And so they will devour things, but then they go away. So there isn't really like a J-Dom thing. There isn't really any of that. There's nothing really. Maybe the sulfur. If you're getting it bad, try the J-Dom sulfur. Definitely. Yeah, you can definitely try that. Check it out, guys. Ginger and lemongrass and mint. The lemongrass and the mint is from outside. The ginger, of course, we had to buy that because it's not ready yet. Okay, DK says, just found your channel, definitely subbed. Exactly what I was looking for. Been making my own fish emulsion. Had to look into making more fertilizers on my own. Why buy it? Yes, guys, why buy it? And that brings me to a point that I wanted to make and something I wanted to show you. Because last year I was supposed to go spearing the carp with Rusty Reed the Turtle Man, but we never ended up doing that. And so all of a sudden, this season was approaching and I forgot to make fish fertilizer for this year. So all I have is the bucket of FAA, fish amino acids, that is digesting. And I just last week ran out of fish fertilizer. I ran out. Viking headquarters ran out of fish fertilizer. I know, it's totally absurd. So I've got more being made, but I'm not about it anymore doing the fish fertilizer where you just let them decompose for a couple of weeks and then start using it. I'm not about that anymore. So I have since refined the process a bit and I let everything digest completely before I use it. Especially the fish fertilizers because we use it on the leaves. So when I get some fish, I will be making the fish hydrolysate with the labs, enzymatically digesting the fish. Yes, I will do that. But until then, guess what I had to do? Guess what I had to do? Look. I had to buy a jug. For the first time in years, I had to buy a jug of fish fertilizer. Now, guys, this is $45, okay? 45 American dollars for this little jug of fish fertilizer. And the amounts that I use, this would last like a couple of weeks. I mean, I use a lot of the fish fertilizer. It's the only real source of nutrients in the aerated compost teas, you know? It's the only real source of the real balanced nutrients in the aerated compost tea. And so I use quite a bit of it, you know? But $45? It's absurd. And I can tell, based upon the smell and the effect on the plants, I can just tell that it's inferior. I can just tell. It's not fully digested and it's inferior because the plants don't respond to it as well as the homemade stuff. They don't. And yet this is 45 flippin' dollars. Okay, so, and it's got phosphoric acid in it, used as a stabilizer. You know, I don't know. They're not making it, they're still doing it for a profit and for a business. So there's no way that they're doing it like you would do yourself, like with the love, using the whole fish. They're using some kind of scraps and stuff like that, which is fine. But, guys, I make like 5-gallon buckets of this, you know, multiple 5-gallon buckets. This is 1 gallon. And for $45. So what, times 5? I mean, how much is that per 5-gallon bucket? And that's a fish hydrolysate. And then I had to purchase, I know, absurd, this stuff. And as well, I get a lot of comments about that Neptunes and this Alaska fish. And so I wanted to, you know, even though way back in the day, I started using this stuff in Northern California. But once I learned to make my own, I never bought it again because it's superior and it's free. This is a fish emulsion. So that is a fish hydrolysate. This is a fish emulsion. Now, many of you will know the difference, right? What is the difference? DJ Snap says, there are so many recipes for compost tea. What is the way to make it? We will talk about that in a moment, my friend. Grow All Year says, when you say fish fertilizer, are you referring to the J-Dom recipe? I made some from a Lake Michigan trout or salmon last August. Nice. When I say fish fertilizer, I'm using that term interchangeably. There's 3 different kinds of fish fertilizers that I use. One is the J-Dom, where you just put it into the bucket with the leaf mold and the water, and it digests. Yes. The second is the hydrolysate, where we grind it up, or blend it, the fish preferably, and then we add molasses and the lactic acid bacteria serum to enzymatically digest that fish much faster than it would in the J-Dom system. Much faster, like 2 weeks to a month, and it's digested. And then there's the fish amino acids, which is actually the finest of them all, but it takes by far the longest, by far. You pretty much have to do it a year in advance. So, yeah, you pretty much have to do it a year in advance. But so the fish emulsion, yes. Hans Ketchup says they cook the fish emulsion. Man, the fish emulsion, yeah, definitely is. They process that because they use. This is not just. They're not just catching fish and making this stuff for you guys. You know, they are. This is a byproduct, the very, very, very tail end byproduct of the industry, which would extract the fish oils, which are very useful for the fertilizer for the plants. They would extract all that fish oil, make the fish oil capsules, make the fish oil supplements, because it's so much more profitable, yes? And they will make all that stuff. And then they will extract certain things for cosmetic products, yes? Certain collagens from the bones and the cartilages and stuff like that. They use for cosmetic products. And then... well, and that's not to say the actual food, the fillets that would come from it first. So they're using all this stuff, and then they will take it and grind it all up and then boil it and extract more of the stuff to use elsewhere. And then the very tail end, the sludge of what is left, here it is. They bottle it up and they give it to us. And so it still works. It still works. You know, that's a testament to how amazing fish fertilizer really is. But that's not, the stuff we make ourselves is so far beyond this stuff. I can just tell when I foliar with it, the plants don't respond like they do with the homemade stuff. Just bam, works really good. Yeah, Alvin K says, fish amino acid just seems like a more concentrated product since it's just fish and sugar compared to water, labs, fish, and molasses, which gives more liquid amounts. It does, yes. It's definitely more concentrated. And what I appreciate about it these days is the pleasant smell. You know, I just, because I have a very acute sense of smell, very strong, well-trained sense of smell. And so I like the gardening experience to be a pleasant sensory experience all the way around. I don't like to go out and smell that putrid stench of death, you know, and just makes it unfriendly, the whole experience. You know, I want it to be fresh and smell like flowers and wonderful things, and it can. So that's the biggest advantage of the fish amino acid, in my opinion, is the concentration and then the wonderful smell. Yeah. But this stuff, this hydrolysate, then they will take this, they will grind up the fish, and I'm sure they're still extracting more profitable things from it. I'm sure they are. And then what is left, they will grind it up, and then they will use an enzyme. So I don't know what enzyme they're using, but we use essentially lactic acid bacteria serum, the labs. And so we will use that, and then that will digest, and then we'll add a sugar on top of that, and then the stuff goes crazy and digests it really rapidly. So it's a much higher quality product. Fish hydrolysate is better than commercial fish emulsion, definitely, because technically more is left intact. But not $45 a bottle worth. So anyways, let's see. Nathaniel Graham says, Nate, have you heard of Dr. Zach Bush? 50-million-year-old fossilized soils brought back to life, like Jurassic Park. I have not heard of that yet. But didn't they see the movie, Jurassic Park? That didn't work out too well, did it? Let's see here. Naturally by Darla says, I love all your videos and all the different fertilizers you make. I am old. I do what I can, but I get very confused with all the different ones. Is there just one or two you think I could use? Yes, that's a really good point. And this, you know, I didn't set out to create like the natural fertilizer channel, but that's what it turned into, you know, because that's what people want to see. So, I'm just showing you all the different things I've learned over the years and all the different things that work. Now, do you need to make every one of them? Absolutely not. No. So you already know what I'm probably going to say is that the aerated compost tea is all that you really need. Now, the aerated compost tea recipe that I promote, though, has in it the fish fertilizer and the lactic acid bacteria serum and the calcium. Now, do you need those things? No. So I would say that if there's one fertilizer that you should make, it would be the fish fertilizer, really. Any of the three methods would be fine. The fish fertilizer is the one that you need to make. So, and guys, if you're just joining, remember, we got strong-armed into using this ridiculous vertical method. It will be different by next week. Because YouTube took away the option to the creator now to do the sideways when using the mobile app. So now we got to learn a bunch of new software and do a bunch of new stuff, but we'll do it. So not a problem. Thankfully, we can pivot quickly and easily and adapt. So Naturally by Darla, $20. Thank you, my friend. First tip of the day says you answered already. Thank you. Yes, definitely. What was the other? Okay. But yeah, that brings me to the good point. So many people see the videos and they think, well, I'm going to have 25 different buckets. I mean, there's literally like 30 homemade fertilizer videos, but you don't have to use them all. Use the fish fertilizer and the aerated compost tea, and that's all that you need, really. The other ones are very effective, and some people, get more into it. They really want to push it, and as you become more and more attuned to the response of the plants, you'll be able to notice different fertilizers produce different effects on the plant. You can never force the plant to do anything, but you can help to encourage the plant to do it itself. You can add more certain things to help encourage the plant to want to do, what you want it to do. You can never force it to do anything, of course. It will do what it wants. Look to Nature Homestead says, and JDOM wetting agent, not a fertilizer, but a must. Yeah, the wetting agent, which also you could use Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap, the Castile soap, all right? But the wetting agent is really the only pesticide that you'll need for most things, definitely. But even that, I hardly use it anymore. I hardly have to use it anymore. You just make the aerated compost teas and apply it to the leaves, to everything, and you're pretty much good to go. And you don't need to use much else. And if you do, you can just hit it again with a foliar-only compost tea. I'll be coming out with a recipe pretty soon, which I'll be using like an explosive growth compost tea recipe. Elena Williams says, I bet you have some cool stories from your time growing in California. Do share, please. Oh, yes. I definitely do. Definitely do, because we were growing before it was cool, if you know what I mean. So it was I'll be writing a book about that someday, but I don't know if it's been long enough yet. I have to let a few more years go by. Yes. Winter Frory says, I appreciate your knowledge. Thank you, my friend. I'm glad you're here. What's up, Big Will Dog? Says Nate, is there some reason why fish works but not small critter pests? I used to know exactly, but it has since left me. But it has to do with the type of amino acids that the fish is made of, and the spectrum of calcium and all of the minerals and the vitamins and the way that the fish proteins can be digested. I will have to freshen up on that. That's a great question. I will freshen up on that, and I will know by next week. But I don't want to just say something that isn't accurate. But there is a clear reason, though. Yes, we've made fertilizers from like dead raccoons and things like that. We've digested them in the barrels, like in the mountains. But it takes a lot longer. The red meat proteins don't digest in the same way. And it doesn't create, it like never gets unrancid. It's just really a different product. It's possible though, if that's all that you have. But the fish, yes. And when I was in Northern California, there is still like Indian nations, Native American nation tribes there. You know, I mean, they live just like us, of course. I mean, they're indistinguishable from normal people, of course, but they still remember their stories and their heritage and all of that. And so I was hanging out with them, Yurok Indians, and they have these stories about the redwoods, why the redwoods can grow so tall. And they intuitively knew this because the trees there, the redwoods are the biggest trees in the world. They're unimaginable. Until you see them, you can hardly believe it. And why are you guys laughing? Hee 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 hee. I forget what I said, but the trees there are enormous. Okay, they're the biggest in the world, and they would have these stories about why the trees were so big. And they would just intuitively know this. The ancient wisdom. They said that because when the salmon run, you know, in those kind of creeks, the salmon runs upstream, and then they die, and then they die. After they spawn, if you know about salmon runs. So they'll go out into the ocean, they'll eat, they'll feed, they'll get all kinds of different nutrients in them, and then they'll come back upstream, fight their way upstream to the point, like the exact triangulation of where they were spawned. And they will mate and lay the eggs, and then they all die. And so at a certain time of year, there's thousands of dead salmon, big fish and stuff like that. And so they said that there is a network of intelligence that would draw the fish. The fish will go onto the bears and things would eat them, but then the fish will die on the banks of the river and in the river. And those nutrients, the natives even knew that there was something, a spirit that would pull the nutrients all the way inland, miles inland, to the redwoods. And that is one of the reasons why they grew so big in those areas. Now, modern science, of course, has uncovered that is literally true. Not the sole reason, but they know that through mycorrhizal fungi is the spirit that would pull these nutrients. And they know because they've documented that redwood groves can, if one area of the grove, so 20 or 50 miles away, has become deficient in nitrogen, for example, they can send it from another area of the grove that will that has an excess, and they will send it. It can take years and years to move this, but on a time span of redwoods, that doesn't matter. These trees are thousands of years old. So it's just amazing. I mean, it's just totally amazing. I mean, I would be so awestruck when I was listening to these conversations and these stories, and it all just makes sense, and you feel it when you're there. And then you learn things about, how mycorrhizal fungi works and how that it literally is true, and it will pull the nutrients and feed things. So that's a long-winded way of saying about the fish, okay? So... Yes. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Andrew says, what dilution rate should I use applying JDOM anaerobic ferment fertilizer to a lawn? Okay, to a lawn, the grass fertilizer would be the best. For the lawn, just take wild grasses, digest it. And for the lawn, you can use it at any point, really, after just a few weeks. Because you're not eating it, and grass is unbelievably hardy and robust. So you can apply that pretty strong. I mean, you could push it. I wouldn't apply it neat by any means, but even that wouldn't really hurt things. So apply it, if you really want that luscious lawn, you could apply it like 1 to 10, something like that. 10 gallons of water, 1 gallon of the fertilizer, or even 1 to 5 to a lawn. You could. Or you could do 1 to 50, but it won't have quite the effect that you're going after. A lawn can take heavy fertilization. Elizabeth Hendricks, good to see you, my friend. It's been a while. Says, so interesting about the salmon redwood relationships and fungi help natural cycle. Can you imagine if our human society functioned as well? Right. Can you imagine? Yeah, that's the perfection of the natural world, because they understand that they are functioning as a single unit. Yes. Oh, Sweetly Morbid Bear says, one day you should go live and just share the stories of the elders. Definitely, I could do that. Oh my goodness. So many stories that have really shaped my life and who I am now and my entire experience of reality, really. Yeah. In India and in Thailand and in Nepal and all the places, Northern California, all the places. Definitely. I do have a Travel Like a Viking channel where I show pictures and videos and I kind of reenact certain things, so you can check that out if you want. It's not quite the same. I know what you're talking about. It's not quite the same, but it's something. Let's see. Meyer Lemon says, Nate, calcium acetate solution volcanoed a bit and activity ended sooner than usual, about 4-ish days. I thought I added them slowly enough. Still okay to use? Yes. So I get so many questions about that, and I understand it because people want to do it right, but there's a big room for error. I mean, there's a big margin of success, however I want to word that, with the calcium solution. So long as you're roughly using 1-to-10 ratio and you're applying it and you see the reaction and then the reaction stops and you give it a stir and the reaction stops again, it's pretty much good to use. I said in the video 10 days because that's just ensuring in every situation it's going to be fine. But if people need to use it, it's like so many people want to know if they can use it faster. So, okay, well, yes, you can. You can chop it up finer and you can apply it. And you can mix it. And so long as the reaction stops, that's what's important. If the reaction has stopped, then you're good. And give it a shake and make sure that that the reaction isn't still going on. I got to check my phone because I'm trying to buy something on Marketplace. But you know how people on Facebook Marketplace, how they will post something and then that's it. They'll never think about it again. They'll post something for sale and then you message them and then you don't ever hear anything from them again. And it's still up for sale and everything. It's like, well, why did you even... Are you trying to sell something or what? So anyways... So, Brian Aries says, building the tribe. That's why we have gathered, and sharing the knowledge is the only way. Absolutely it is. And we are gifted to be able to use this amazing technology to our advantage. Yes. It took me a while when I first came back from the mountains to say, man, all this technology, it just feels so weird when you're used to living way off grid, in the redwoods and stuff, totally disconnected from all internet and social media and stuff like that. So when you come back, the pace of life is so fast. Everything is so fast. All the cars are moving so fast and all the sound is so fast and the connectivity is instant. I texted you 10 minutes ago. Why didn't you respond? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whoa. Because you're used to just being out with nature, with the natural cycle of things that is just slow. The rhythm of the seasons and the weather patterns and all of that stuff, the way things grow, that pace, that spirit gets in you. And then when you come back to this man-made jungle, it's just like a culture shock and you just want to go back. You just want to go back. But I couldn't. So it's, yeah. So when I first came back, I was like, man, forget all this technology. No, I'm not using any of it because it's so like, it's so invasive. It feels like, and it's just so like interrupts your, it took some getting used to. It took some, okay, well, I'm going to have to use this technology to my advantage somehow. I'm going to have to use it to share the message. That's what it's all about. So how do I do that? And then once you have a purpose for it, then it makes more sense. Alvin K says, why couldn't you go back to the woods? Because the operation that I was living, the situation that I had created, it all came crashing down, we can say. And going back is not an option. Yeah, I know. Cowgirl in Arizona says, I'm ready to move to the mountains and become a hermit with a garden. I know. I mean, it's wonderful and stuff, but also the other side of the coin is unless you've done that, you don't know how much sacrifice there actually is. Now, I'm not saying you in particular, but I'm saying people. I hear all the time. You know, you see on Facebook those little memes. I just want to move to the woods in a cabin by myself and grow my own food. Well, okay, but that's not like easy. That's not like, it just sounds like I just want to be free and never have to do any work or anything again. No, there's trade-offs. There's huge trade-offs. You know, when I see those memes, I'm like, guys, that's probably comes from someone that's never actually done that, because there's huge trade-offs. You know, I do appreciate being able to just go to the store. I'm 10 minutes from Menards, which has everything, and Walmart right next to each other. All these supplies. Like when I was in the mountains, it would be a 2-hour one way to go to like a Walmart. 2.5 hours one way to go to a Walmart. That was it, you know? So it's like it's just a whole different way of living, you know? And you live off grid and stuff. Well, okay, well, getting water, just getting water and storing all the water and living out of water tanks and stuff, all of that comes as a trade-off. It's like, great, we're not paying for any of it. We're not relying on the man, but the spring is drying up. And this is a big problem, you know? So we have to capture all the water. And then our water tank just sprung a leak, you know, somewhere in the 2.5 miles of 3/4 inch poly line that we got strung all over the woods. So we got to walk that whole, it's just a different way of living. Okay. So anyways. Ooh, Vicky Savage says, I remember the 1960s. The summer of love was followed by the winter of starvation. I've not heard that. Ooh, Mick Hegarty says, yes. He says, we just bought 3.4 acres, and let me tell you, it's a full time going, just trying to keep up with the land. Definitely. And this is where I learned you have to have your systems in place. Your systems are everything. And so super labor intensive systems gotta go. They gotta go out the window. And so that's how you can tell, like in social media and YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, you can see the people that haven't really done it before and make videos about things, and it's super labor intensive well, you can just tell the systems is everything. And so you have to develop them as clever as possible. Okay, what are you guys talking about? Lump charcoal, charcoal. Let me see what you're talking about, charcoal. Ask that number again. Andrew Campbell says, emergency medical service access is a real concern off the grid too. Oh, for sure. Yeah, if something happened, a twisty, windy road for a long time. Yeah, it's just not happening. But, you know, there's part of that adds to the thrill of the lifestyle. It's like, oh, you got to be on your toes as well, you know? It's trade-offs. There's trade-offs. Okay. Hans Ketchup says, is lump charcoal good for horticulture? I can't find any info on that. So if you're talking about hardwood lump, not briquettes, if you're talking about hardwood lump, absolutely. Watch my video about supercharge the soil for 1,000 years. And the hardwood lump is basically biochar. There's indistinguishable differences. But if you look at my Instagram videos about it, you'll see hundreds of keyboard warrior scientists in the comments saying, that's not biochar. Biochar is made by blah, 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 blah. You know, no, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it is totally indistinguishable, the difference. The hardwood lump charcoal from the store with zero additives or ingredients or anything like that, and the biochar you make yourself, you are not ever going to notice any difference whatsoever as far as the effect in the soil. So for all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. It works. Supercharge it. It works wonderful. Yeah, Pilar says, we don't have any medical care on the island. We don't even have an x-ray machine. Our health plan is don't get hurt. Yeah, I feel you. Don't get hurt. Meyer Lemon says, gotta go harvest garlic before it gets all miserably scorch out there. Abundant and happy gardening to all. And thank you so much, Nate, for your guidance to all of us. Blessings to everyone. Thank you, Meyer Lemons. Art Scholke says, what are your favorite type of beans? Now, you mean dry beans or green beans? My favorite green bean is the Kalima because it stays really tender no matter how big it gets. And there's not really strings on them. And they stay solid while canning. So that is a great thing. Yeah? That's a great thing. And you want them to stay solid and not get mushy. But if you're talking about dry beans, then if there's only one type of dry bean, it would be the rattlesnake pole bean. Because the rattlesnake pole bean can be eaten as a delicious green bean when it's fresh and young. But then also you can leave it for dried beans. And it makes a really wonderful bean like a pinto, kind of like a pinto bean, think, along those lines. So those are the two. Those are the best. Yeah. 20 euros. Eden 3D. Thank you, my friend. Says my garden thrives thanks to your teaching. Question. I am still shying away from starting onions from seed indoors. Have you ever grown onion sets in the fall for the coming year? Let's see here. Well, it depends on where you're at. So you mean like growing them yourself? No, I actually haven't. And because there's no reason to. Because you get phenomenal results just starting the onions from seed in February. You know? I don't know where you're at exactly, but there's never been a reason to because I just get such good results growing right from seed. And the red ones tend to be done quicker than the yellow ones. The yellow ones are still out there and perfectly still stout, strong. So, and guys, you do not have to wait until every neck is soft and falling over. Wait until you see just a few of them, about 10% of the crop, start to fall over like this. Then harvest all of them. That's how you want to do it. You don't want to wait until they're all falling over. They won't store as long. Now, I did wait until these all fell over because of logistics. I had other things that was going on and I wanted to wait to harvest them and yada yada. But it doesn't matter because there was only like 50 of these and they're so delicious that they're never going to last through the winter. So, yeah. Okay, Julie Pooley says, if I want to save Natapino seeds, do I need to wait until they turn red or will seeds from green Natapinos be viable? Natapinos they're not heirloom. They're an intense hybrid, I do believe. And so they probably will not save very well. And pepper seeds are one of the few seeds I never save anymore because of too many disappointments. They cross-pollinate so easily. And so if you're growing more than one type of pepper, just forget about it basically because the characteristics will cross in such a way that you'll end up with they'll all be flavorless. They'll all just taste like green peppers. You know, so that's my experience over the years. So that's why I do purchase them. Yes. But yes, if you wanted to save them and see if they're still viable, even though I'm pretty sure they're a hybrid, then you have to wait. You have to let it go all the way, preferably. Maybe the green one will still work, but unlikely. So when you're saving seeds from things, you want to let them go all the way. All the way. The cucumbers got to be big and swollen and yellow. The petty pan squash, they got to be super huge. And you just want to let everything go till it's super mature. Okay? And these are the petty pan squash. Very delicious, guys. But they get big quick. We've been frying these up. I've been gorging myself on these for several weeks now. Well, maybe about 2 weeks at the most, actually. And it's going to last about another 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So we're eating this and everything. Using this in place of pasta, actually. Cut these in half, dip it in a little egg, a little whole wheat flour, just a little bit, and then fry it in some lard. Turn it upside down, and then we put the tomatoes and peppers and ground beef or chicken, that kind of thing, on top of them. Super delicious with garlic and onions. Oh yeah, very good. Now you want to pick the patty pan when they're small, like this. Even smaller is fine, because once they get to like this size, then they start to get kind of watery. The seeds kind of get big and stuff. Yeah. Keith Scott, yes. Nadapinos are the same as culipinos. Yes. Heatless jalapenos, which I'm growing one plant. I got tricked into growing one plant this year, and so far it's exactly how it sounds. A flavorless jalapeno. There's just a jalapeno with nothing. Let's see here. There was the Alex Forgay, $10. Thank you, my friend. Says, good morning, Nate. So when it's time to bloom, I'm undecided on if I should do the bloom tea once a week and maybe the bloom fertilizer the next. Or what would be the best way to go about that? Thank you. Okay, let's see here. So when it's time to bloom, so you're obviously talking about those plants, right? Then I should do the bloom tea one week and maybe the bloom fertilizer the next. Well, if you're talking about those plants, then you really need to, the way to do it is to create the soil mix first. You have to add all of your amendments and everything. If you're doing living soil, then you want to mix all of your amendments and stuff into the soil and let it cook for about 4 to 6 weeks first. Let it cook with some aerated compost teas or some Jadam microbial solution. Let that cook, all right, to become plant available. And then you will put it into the pots or whatever beds or containers. Then you'll put the plants in there. From there out, all they're going to receive is teas. From there out, that's all that they will need, because everything that you have that the plants need is already in the soil in the root zone. That's how it has to happen for those kind of plants, because they're so hungry and so fast growing. That's the best way. It's not the only way. But then you're adding teas. And you will not need to add a nitrogen-rich tea, especially if it's indoors and it's only 8 to 10 weeks. If it's full season, then it's different. If it's full season, then it's different. If it's like full season in the ground outdoors, then yes, it can be different. Then you're a lot more forgiving. But the bloom tea, now I don't know if I made a video on that yet, but I will, definitely. There will be a bloom tea for sure. So, yes. And VA Green, yes, says, I just put the bloom fertilizer in the tea. Yeah, totally. That's how you would do it at the end. Yeah, you could put it in the beginning as well, actually. But it doesn't have anything we're trying to multiply in it. So I would put it at the end, along with the labs and along with the calcium, if you're using that. Yes. Yes. The main thing when you're making the teas, once flowering comes around, you omit the fish. You omit the fish fertilizer. You omit, if you're using alfalfa meal and stuff you omit all of that. And you just go for the high phos seabird guano, which I'll make a video on that stuff pretty soon. But that's going to supercharge. High phos seabird guano will supercharge the tea. So Hans Ketchup, $5. Thank you, my friend. Says, thanks, Nate, for answering gratuity questions. Yes, you're welcome, my friend. Thank you for the tip. Cowgirl in Arizona says, we made Nate's biochar, and I had so much fun driving over the oak chunks with my truck. Yeah, I know. That is kind of fun, isn't it? So, hang on, I gotta check and see if that person... Nope, still no response. Someone's trying to sell something on Facebook, and nah, forget about it. So guys, remember last week I was like, hey, I got these high quality brass valves, I was like, man, I'm gonna try them. I got them off of Amazon, of course, so that they could be in my storefront. But I was like, I'm not gonna right away put them in my storefront because they're untried. But I mean, I've used lots of these in the past. Not this exact brand, but when I was in the mountains many years ago now, I was using these for everything. So I ordered them, and it's like $28, I think, for 2 of them. I mean, pricey, all right? But they don't rust. That's why you get the brass ones. They don't rust. You don't have problems. They don't break. They don't burst typically. They're just a lot better all the way around. But like so many things now, guys, everything has been cheapified. Everything has become junk because I use this. Okay, so this is one way I like to use them. This is how I like to apply the compost tea. So just use it like this. Whoops, I better not let it spill anywhere. And let me show you. So this is so after 3 days, okay? After 3 days, look at that. Look at that. Okay? Rust. 3 days. These used to be made in such a way that I left them outside for years and they never rusted. That nothing ever happened to them. They were just outside all the time. Now everything's been so cheapified that immediate rust. Yes, it's on the nut, but still, on the old ones, I never saw any rust at all. So, yeah. So that is disheartening, and so I will not be recommending these in the storefront. That's for sure. So that's why I like to try it out first, because no doubt somebody thought, hey, we can save 1/10 of 100%, or we can save 1/10 of a penny, if we just cheapify everything. And so that's what we get. So I won't be recommending those. I'll use them still, but that's that. Planned obsolescence. That's right, Pilar. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the world that we're living in now. There's global inflation to such an astonishing rate. We're in the quickening of the exponential graph. We are definitely in the quickening. Everything is inflating, simultaneously collapsing at a faster, increasingly fast rate. And so these manufacturers no doubt said, well, hey, our cost is going to double recently in the past couple of years, so we can't double or triple our price because our people won't pay it. So instead, we'll just make it with really cheap ingredients and just slightly raise the price. Yeah. So it's not cool. It's not cool, but it's a sign of the time that we are living in. Yes. So Eric Trainer says, awesome to see your channel grow like this. Great job, Nate. Your garden is looking great. Thank you very much, my friend. Yes. Don Padawan says, just bought the Drum one because I was nervous about it. Yeah, the Drum, I've not had a problem with those. Definitely. Very good. Let's see here. Han says, thanks, Alvin. Nate didn't skip a beat. Yes, that's true. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but definitely. Okay, let's see here. Alvin K says, one thing I've been thinking about is, does it really matter what we add? I would think the plant would decide what it needs or not. So why should it matter what we add besides wasting fertilizer? Right, that is one way to think about it. But what you have to think about is that the plant is a set of blueprints, we could say. It's a set of blueprints that tells the organism how to construct the factory to create another one of itself. And so there are huge fail-safe mechanisms built into this blueprint, we could say, in the sense that it will still be able to do that even under harsh conditions. Even under way less than ideal conditions, it will still be able to do that just to get another one. Its only purpose is to reproduce. That's the only purpose, we could say. And so so even if it's got terrible conditions, it could still produce a little bit and produce another one of itself. Mission accomplished. But likewise, in the totally ideal conditions, it could grow and flourish and become strong and vigorous and produce hundreds or whatever, however many, a plethora of other seeds, and procreate many, many, many times over because it's so virile and healthy and vibrant and full of life. Now, that is those two different things is actually a marvel of adaptation designed into the blueprint of the system. You understand? So it can survive and on a little bit, but it can thrive when it has everything that it needs. Now, the plant is going to decide either way, its own self. But what you want to do, what the grower does, is the grower ensures that everything that plant will need is there when it wants it, so that it can grow to the fullest of its genetic potential. So that it can say, okay, these blueprints will allow me to get so big, and it will allow me to do this certain thing in the ideal conditions. So you want to create those ideal conditions so that it doesn't reach for something and it's not there. Okay? You want everything to be there when it needs it, but not too much. Yeah? So that is the job of the grower. So yes, it matters very much what you put in there if you're trying to grow high quality stuff. And I see this all the time because people talk about, oh, this is all overkill. This is, I grow tomatoes and they're fine. And you look at their tomatoes and it's like, well, okay, there's tomatoes there. So technically you are growing tomatoes. But, if you could see my 9-foot Jurassic tomato plants that have got just boatloads of tomatoes on them, bursting with flavor and no diseases whatsoever, then you would say, oh, okay, well, there's clearly a difference. Clearly a difference. Now, what's the difference? I ensured that plant has everything that it needs. That's why. It's nothing that I did. I mean, you can't force the plant to do anything, but you can give it what it wants when it wants it. And that is the key to everything in growing. That's what the difference between a gardener and a grower. A gardener will just thinks that they're growing the plants and they will, they'll have some success. Yeah. But a grower really observes and understands and knows how to add. It can almost listen to the plant and it can sense and read what the plants are needing. Yeah. If I didn't have those years in Northern California as the head grower where it all fell on my shoulders, I would not have got this deep into it. There would have not been the pressure to get that deep into it. But I'm so glad that it happened because it opened up like a whole different way of seeing life. It's just wonderful. Teats Treats, what's up, my friend? Guys, check his channel out as well. He says, I did a 1-hour consultation with Nate this week. I can't recommend it enough. Thank you, my friend. It was great to see your place and all those clever ways you're making a lot happen with not a lot of space, which is very cool. And typically onions and buckets don't work very well at all, but you've got the best looking onions and buckets that I've seen. Also some of the healthiest nasturtiums I've ever seen. Part of it could be the San Francisco weather. Yes. Hans Ketchup says, I saw a soil scientist talking about calcium. If there's not enough in the top 6 inches, the plant will absorb more nitrogen to replace it, and the plant cells get thin and leaky. Yes, the calcium is mega important. It's almost, we say NPK as the main ones, but really it should be NPK, mag, and calcium, and even sulfur. Those should all be major nutrients that it needs. So if there's not enough calcium, man, that manifests itself in so many different ways. So one of the top ways you can tell is that your produce doesn't last very long. After harvesting, it just doesn't last very long. That's one of the ways you can tell immediately. So yes. The VA Green says the plants are speaking to you if you're listening. Absolutely correct. They definitely do this. And to people that are unaccustomed to that, it is they don't know what you're talking about. They think, oh, that's some hippie wish-wash stuff. No, not at all. It's literally true. You just have to be able to hear it. You just have to listen. But most people are not that in tune. They haven't been able to quiet down the noise inside to really open up to the wavelengths that the plants are operating on. We talk about this kind of stuff on the Monday Thrive Like a Viking Tribe at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time if you want to check that kind of stuff out. We get way in depth. We go to the core of the subconscious, the very creation of reality. So yes, and like T Street said, 1-hour consultation, guys. I still have some time. I can do that kind of stuff. If you want to get a consultation, then it's 1 hour, and it was typically $100. And so that is possible. 1 hour. If it goes over that, that's fine. Whatever it is, we will do this right here, and you can show me your garden and ask me your specific questions. We'll get a plan on when you want to plant stuff, on how you want it. We'll just make sure you got a rock solid plan. Okay, so if you're wanting that, I still have some time for that. So let's see. Signal Law says, I like to go into the middle of my garden and stand there and observe. Yes, definitely, my friend. Definitely. That's what it's all about. Feel it. Okay, Mick Hegarty, 20 bucks. Thank you, my friend. Says, speaking of fertilizer, I am really really a thank you from my wife. She has been stealing my granular for her flowers, and she said that the growth and colors have never been more vibrant. Yes, that's what we're talking about, guys. It really is too. It's actually because I fine tuned it a bit, because the recipe came from the mountains, of course. So I fine tuned it a bit more for like the home garden and as a general all-purpose fertilizer. And so it's producing wonderful, marigolds and stuff like this. One's past its prime, but it's wonderful marigolds and the blooms on all kinds of stuff. I mean, these zinnias have never been so thick. The stalks are like as thick as my thumb, and it's just really everything is really thriving from it. Anywhere that I apply the Viking granular is thriving. And guys, just today, I got the very first picking of ripe purple bumblebees. And these are purple bumblebees. I purchased the seeds again from Baker Creek because the last set I purchased was like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And I was wondering if there was like some genetic drift happening because I'm always growing them up in the mix of everything else. Tomatoes all different together. And I was wondering if there was like some genetic drift. So I can say, by looking at it, there's not any difference really, from saving those seeds for 5 years, even growing in the midst of everything. Now, it's still too early to tell because I will make sure that these are super perfectly ripe and I will eat them then. Well, let's try it right now. Okay, let's try. This one feels the ripest. All right, they're so beautiful too. Even just for the look is wonderful. They ferment the best. These skins are really wonderful as far as they don't want to split. They hold up to fermentation really well. All right, let's give it a try. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna cut it in half so I can show you guys half of it. I was just gonna do the Viking chomp, but we will cut it in half and see. Okay, so. Okay, yes, so I cut it in half the wrong way, of course, but yeah, okay, looks all right. See how meaty it is, though? It's not, let's see here. Let's get another one here. And they are, yes. Nice and juicy, good seed cavity to meat ratio, definitely. So let us give it a try. Guys, it's the taste of summertime. Summertime is here. Okay, when the purple bumblebees are here, it's so complex. The flavor of the purple bumblebee tomato. So I'm gonna go ahead and say right off the bat that there's no difference. As far as from saving the seeds, the plants we had last year, which had been saved for about 5 years, as opposed to these fresh genetics I just bought, I didn't see a difference in the way the plant is growing. I don't see a visual difference in the fruit, and I don't taste any difference. They taste just as wonderful as they always have. Oh, VA Green, you can't taste anything? Here, get another one, man. Yeah. So, I just like them because of how resilient they are. They're always the most vigorous tomato plant in the garden, producing boatloads, and they don't split, and they don't catch diseases, and they're just wonderful. And and because their skin is nice and thick, you slice them like this, and then put them on the dehydrator like that, and they will like cook down in their own juices. You never want to put them on the dehydrator like that because then the juices will fall out. The skin is such on these, I love to dehydrate them. So you'll put them like that, and then it creates like a bowl where it will keep the juices, and it will dehydrate. All that flavor is left in there. And then what I do after they're dehydrated, totally bone dry, grind them up into a shelf-stable tomato paste. And this is my favorite thing. It really is one of my favorite things because, for example, last night we were sauteing some chicken. We were sauteing some organic chicken, and we were going to put it over the squash, you know. And so I put some of the smoked peppers, and then I put a teaspoon or maybe a tablespoon of this stuff in there with the chicken and the lard and everything, garlic and onions, and a couple of Jimmy Nardello peppers from you guys. Someone sent me some Jimmy Nardello seeds, so I'm growing them. They're really good. And mix it all together, and man, you just get that one little teaspoon. It's amazing how many tomatoes it takes to make this thing. Now I thought I was going to give away a bunch of it, so I blended it all up, but actually I have several more half gallons of them dehydrated but not blended. Don't powder them until you're going to use it, closer to the time you're going to use it. But anyways, so the flavor of this, you don't have to get out a big thing of tomato paste and do all that stuff. You just use a spoonful of this, and it gives that tang, that super tangy, complex depth, almost like a sweet vinegar type of a tang. So that is my favorite way. And if you have it like this, then you can use it in so many more things, because you don't have to open up a can of this and then, you know, take some of this out of the freezer and all that. You just use it real quick and put it back. One of my favorite ways. But you would be astonished at how many tomatoes this actually is. This is like hundreds of tomatoes. I mean, a lot of, so it really is concentrated flavor. Yeah. So, yeah. These are really good, man. Purple bumblebee season is upon us, guys. So, AK Froggy says, please make a video on how to make it. Yes, I already have. This, I made a video last year, maybe 2 years ago, said this shelf-stable tomato paste is a game changer. So just check my channel, tomato paste, something like that. Or tomato. But yeah, I show the specifics of how to do it. Yeah, very important. Yes, Cowgirl in Arizona says, that is beautiful. I never thought of powdered tomatoes. Thank you so very much. Yes, it's so much simpler. And you'll be inclined to use it. Oh yeah, you'll be inclined to use it in a lot more things. All right. Let's see here. I had got a Gary Smith, $30. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, another good live. Yes, we are still in the thick of it, my friend. Thank you for your continued support. I appreciate that. Thank you to everybody making the donations. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Brian Ari, thank you for your continued support, monetarily, but energetically as well, definitely. Says, Nate, how is your uncle and mom's garden doing this year? And could you speak on blood meal and bone meal? Thanks for sharing as always. All right, so the uncle's garden is, there was some unforeseen things in the springtime when, like, you know how like in the growing season, there's like a few weeks, like a 4-week window where everything has to happen all at once, you know, and then it's pretty much just coasting the rest of the season, you know, with minor things. But we had some unforeseen difficulties in that time, but we still managed to get a bunch of stuff in the ground. So we've got potatoes, bunch of different kind of potatoes. We got a good crop of Egyptian walking onions for you guys. Don't worry, everybody's onions are doing great. We've got the watermelons happening, and we've got also the experimental, which is not really experimental, but more not experimental, but illustrative, the example garden of how to do the plastic sheet method. So I'll be making videos on it next year. But yeah, it's just like it sounds, guys. It is, you cover the entire area, 40 by 50 in a sheet of silage tarp plastic. Everything totally. And then you bury the edges, which I'll show you in the video, and you burn holes and you plant directly into that. And that's it. You never weed, you never water, you never fertilize, you never do anything. I know, it seems insane, but I first learned that technique many years ago from a book written by a guy named Tom Doyle. That's right. Gardening Without Cultivation is what it was called. Something like that. And he developed this system back in the 50s. And so I've used it in many different ways, but never properly exactly how he did it with burying the edges. So so far it's working really good, and I know it's going to work good, but it's not good for everyone in every situation, but it's really good for some people. So anyways, yeah, so Moms is doing good, definitely. But and then also, okay, could you speak on blood meal and bone meal? What about it? So the blood meal is a wonderful additive. Now the nitrogen, it's a mostly nitrogen, but also some minerals, iron and things like that. But the nitrogen in the blood meal is available very quick. So if you need a fast acting source of nitrogen, you add bone meal. But it also, the quicker it comes on, the quicker it leaves. So it will work for about a month to a month and a half, the bone meal. And then it's consumed up. So that's why you want to combine the blood meal with a slow digesting like a feather meal, which doesn't even begin to become plant available for about a month, month and a half. You know, those kind of things. That's both of those things, along many others, are all in the Viking granular nutrients, of course, in the right ratios. Ratios are very important. So I don't talk a lot about dry amendments because that's one way to throw your soil out of whack quickly if you don't know what you're doing with it. So and the bone meal, wonderful. Bone meal is a wonderful source of nutrients. Absolutely. What specifically do you want to know about it? But yeah, they're great things to use. Blood and bone. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Muddy Paw says, remember to use O2 packs in your jars to keep out moisture. Yes, but then I'm always getting into it. You know, I'm always getting into it. So is there like a reusable one? I haven't had that much of a problem, though, just because I always do it for the next year. I always make the stuff, and then just for next year, I'll be making more. You know, it's never for like multiple years in a row, stuff like that. Morina Vongsa says, love your mom's garden setup. It is really nice. Yeah, it is nice. Carefree. Yeah. Yes. Senator Joseph McCarthy says, this is in the form of a short on my screen, so I can't forward it, can't back up. Video is better. Oh, it's much better. I know, landscape mode. But like we said, YouTube has taken that option away from us now. So by next week, I'll have it solved. Yes, it just means, like, for me, that just means hours and hours of figuring out streaming software and then figuring out how to link that up. And then I'm going to have to bring my computer down and I'm going to have to figure out how to do all that stuff now. It's just going to add a huge layer of complexity that didn't need to be there. But YouTube determines that it does. So we got to adjust. Rick says, do you put a cover crop first before sheeting? No. No, we didn't do anything before sheeting. So they, let's see. Let's see what some of these questions are here. Jody Forzani says, hi Nate, I have some white maggots ratting the roots of my brassicas. Any idea on what to do about them? I sprayed the ultimate slug solution heavily at the roots, but I'm not sure if it's working. Okay. You need to see if what they are. You need to see what they are. And I saw somebody somebody made a comment about the garden symphalins, but I didn't engage with it. But the symphalins are a major issue. They're a major pest. Now I have, and that's what's going to lead me, I think, to, at the end of the season, totally redo the entire garden. I'm going to till the daylights out of it and then put it all into beds. Yeah, 2x10 beds. So anyways, the symphalins are very difficult to control, and they're really stunting the growth of all kinds of things. And it happens because they like to infect really nice really nice, rich soil, high in organic matter, which is exactly what we have, of course. So they can be a major issue. So I'm still figuring out things. I planted potatoes in that location, and they're growing fine. So we'll see. We'll see. Although I did pull up a potato for new potatoes, and I saw a symphyllin directly in the potato itself, eating the potato. So I'm not sure what that's all about. Yeah? Freebird. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. $20. Thank you very much, my friend. Freebird on CashApp says $20 for ideas to attract more bees. Bee count really low. Man, I know. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. So the bees, the pollinator thing is a major issue. In fact, one of the largest environmental issues that we have right now, and that is not being talked about. It should be on the forefront of every headline. It should be, but of course it will never be. But the collapse of the pollinator population is astronomical and unbelievable. And I know I use this example a lot, but how many of you, and I remember when a kid, you would go for a drive in the country, or really any drive, and you would come back and the grill and the windshield would be plastered with insects, big, all different kinds, plastered, stuck up in the grill and stuff. That never happens anymore, ever. I mean, I don't see any insects on my windshield or in anything. And also, even when I was 16, 17, 18, and I was driving motorcycles on the road, I remember, going when it would be evening time, all the insects, you would get it in your mouth and your face and stuff, because we don't have helmet law here, so I never did the helmet thing. But I never get that anymore. I mean, I don't ride much anymore, but still, even in the past 4, 5, 6 years, never get that anymore. And so I'm sitting here around in my own yard, flowers everywhere, and there's just barely, there's pollinators more than the neighbors' yards, because the neighbors' yards are like otherwise a wasteland of food, because it's just grass, and they got to kill all the weeds in the grass, and there's no flowers. There's nothing for the pollinators to eat. So it's no mystery why everything's collapsing, because no one's feeding them, and they're destroying their habitat, and they are poisoning their food source and poisoning everything. So we don't have to wonder why it's happening. But what we can do is plant things that really help the pollinators. Now, I can say from my firsthand experience over the years, the number one plant for pollinator activity is fennel. Fennel, when that thing comes into bloom, thousands. It is a metropolitan hub of pollinator activity. I just go out there in the morning time, just honeybees galore, honeybees, and flies and all kinds of pollinators, all kinds of bees that I don't even know about. Just different kinds of bees and stuff. So fennel is the number one plant, really. But here we have a lot of the big bumblebees, the carpenter bees, yeah, and they are loving another really good one is zinnias. Zinnias, because of how easy they grow and they produce multiple flowers and they stay for a long time. So that's really good for the pollinators. They love those. Bright, showy flowers, they love those. But also you have to understand, if you want pollinators, yes, who said that? Nathaniel Gillespie says, and sage. Yes, sage is wonderful. I got many different sage bushes. And after it goes to flower once and they die back, cut it heavily, and they will grow and flower again in the same season. So it's wonderful. So yes, Mick Hegarty, that brings me to my next point. Says, if you've got milkweed, please let it grow. Amazing for butterflies, especially monarchs. Yes. I've got 3 huge milkweed stalks right out front, which ideally I wouldn't have there because they're not really that pretty to be right in the front of everything, but it doesn't matter because I know how valuable they are to the pollinator, to the resources. So plant fennel, definitely. Plant zinnias, definitely. Plant coxcomb, definitely, because it stays all summer. It attracts pollinators all summer. So the things you don't necessarily need to plant are the real quick little ones that like daffodils or something stupid like that just bloom and then 5 minutes later die, like that. And so those don't really help a lot. But in my opinion, the way to do it is diversity and checking what is native in your area. I have cone flowers, echinacea. Echinacea is sort of native to this area as well. And so pollinators love that. They will especially love things that are somewhat native. Yeah. So that is my tips on that. But you also have to keep it in. We also have to not fool ourselves, guys, because when you, like, no matter what I'm doing, even though I'm always going to do it, no matter what I'm doing, my neighbors all the way around me are dumping poisons on their lawn, or even if they're not dumping poisons to kill everything, then they are just not growing any food source they're not conscious of this interrelation. They don't understand that our entire food supply from beginning to end relies on pollinators, not just almonds and not just fruits. Everything relies on pollinators. And so this is very, very important, but they don't understand that, of course, because if they did, they would be doing exactly this, growing as much stuff as they possibly could that will help to bolster these populations instead of decimate them. And so you have to keep it in perspective, like, okay, I'll do as much as I can, but all my neighbors, okay, yeah, and there's like a handful in this whole area of people that have like let their stuff go for like wildflower, butterfly yards, which is awesome. But everyone needs to be doing that. But then you drive out to the country and you can drive as far as you can see in every direction is GMO corn and soybeans dumped with toxins and all over it. And there is not a pollinator to be seen. It's insane. It's a wasteland for pollinators. So there's my rant about that. Monkey Boy says, apparently the native bees are disappearing because of so many people keeping invasive honeybees and the cultivation of non-native flowers. I've heard that argument, but I absolutely do not think in any way whatsoever that the keeping of honeybees and the cultivation of non-native flowers is doing it. I think that is maybe a push by the industry to deflect the blame, because I don't care what you say, keeping bees and maintaining flowers of any kind is going to help, in my opinion and experience. So, because what's the alternative? Okay, well, we're just not going to keep bees and we're not going to grow anything that's not native. Okay, well, that's pretty much what they're doing anyways, all the people around us, and that's why everything is collapsing. So, yeah, it's wild. Yes. Let's see. Hogue says, Nate, are you coming to Indianapolis anytime soon, or am I driving up there? Any good sushi in Fort Wayne? Good sushi? I don't. Man, that's funny, because that's the one thing that I like. If someone's like, hey, it's your birthday, you want to go out to eat somewhere? Always I will say sushi, because that's the only thing that I don't make myself better. It's so disappointing to go out to restaurants anymore, because I can always make pretty much everything better. Except for recently, a few weeks ago, we had a wonderful experience at this very local place that my friends own. So, yeah. VA Green says, right, has nothing to do with massive deforestation. Right, has nothing to do with just decimation of the natural world. Just total habitat destruction to the nth degree. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's because people are cultivating non-native flowers. No, that's not why. P. Morton says, bit far inland for good sushi. I know. Yeah, I know. I learned that traveling the world and stuff. The seafood is for places by the sea. Places 1,000 miles from the sea, not so much. Be a bountiful farm. Be about it farms. Oh, that's cool. Be about it farms says, I watch native pollinators and honeybees occupy the same flowers all the time. Oh, absolutely. Very true. And the if you get a fennel plant, that big fennel plant in bloom, you will see all of them all over the place. So yeah, I don't know if I'm coming to Indianapolis anytime soon. It's possible. We'll keep in touch. So, did I miss any tips or questions? Did I miss any of that? Oh, Mark Van Volkenberg, thank you, my friend. $25 via Cash App. Says, hey, I'm very thankful for all the info you share. Thank you very much, my friend. You are very welcome. Is that the full? Let's see here. That might not be the full question, was it? I'm not sure. But thank you very much for the tip, Mark. I appreciate that. And let's see here. So let us see. Yes, Hans Ketchup, I understand. Andrew Campbell says, how do we contact you for a consult? Hit me up at gardenlikeaviking@gmail and title it, the topic in capital letters, consultation. Okay? Consultation request, something like that in capital letters. Because I get a lot of emails and most of them are nonsensical. I mean, it's not I shouldn't say that, but most of them are companies trying to get me to promote their products. And we don't really do that. Hans Ketchup says, you're so right, Nate. Greed is destroying the planet. Man, yeah. And when you and you'll see a lot of people talk about farming, well, why have we decimated all the natural world, the natural land? Because we got to feed these people. We got to feed people. And that's kind of the guise that as if all the farmers are just purely altruistic. Now there may be no doubt there is a sense of, okay, I'm feeding people. I'm helping to feed people. No doubt there's a real sense of that. But that is not the motivation. That is not the reason that they are doing that. It is for profit, of course. It is for profit. The reason that you drive through miles and miles and miles, hours of the Midwest, all the way through Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, the Iowa, and even down south. I mean, all the way to Arkansas from here is just farmland everywhere as far as you can see. For hours, it's just farmland. And it's all been wiped out because of profit, the greed for profit. And then the population expands to fit the food supply. I forget the term for this, but we talk about this sometimes on the Thrive Like a Viking channel. But we see this in nature all the time. The organism will expand up to the limits of its environmental capability, up into the limits of the food supply, yes, but also of the system to recycle its waste. So we see this all the time. And so the organisms will expand to occupy the maximum amount of space. That's how they work on this planet, in this system. They don't just say, well, we're just gonna consciously not reproduce anymore, even though there's all this food and there's all this everything. No, that's not how it works. All the organisms expand until press up against the limits of the food supply and the recycling capabilities of the system that it is a part of. And so it is not that, well, there's all these people here now, how are we going to feed them? No, it's that there's all this food supply and therefore there's all these people. That's how it works. Do you understand the difference? The fundamental difference is that the greed, the profit, we got to wipe out all of the native forests and everything because we can get 5 more feet of profit from these crops. Okay? They do that for a profit. And so therefore the population expands. It's not the other way around. You have to think about that. And so people are like, yeah, well, we got to feed these people. No, you got to get a profit. That is exactly what profit is destroying. We've poisoned the air. We've poisoned the land. We've poisoned the food. And it's a wonder, why is everybody sick? So anyways, I could go on and on. So David Lethoff says, pro tip, plant only one Tahitian melon. Trust me. Yes, I know. I told you guys, them things under the right conditions, they will get Jurassic. The Tahitian squash under the right conditions can have leaves that are 3 feet across, and the vines can be 30 or 40 feet and this thick around, and have like a dozen or 7 to 10 or a dozen huge squash on each plant. Okay, so it can happen that way. Let's see here. Yes, thank you. Nancy Dewald, $20, says, hope to visit your land someday. Yes, that will be happening. I don't know exactly when, but it's crystal clear. I already see it. So it will happen exactly when it is intended to happen and the time is right. So thank you very much for the contribution, Nancy, as always. Son of Devil Beast says, is mango peel acidic? Does it make soil acidic if we put it in soil? You know, I don't live in a climate that has enough mangoes, so I don't know. I can't say for sure. So that's why I didn't answer that question. Sorry. Because I don't know. Wild Bill says, do you grow fall celery or does your summer celery last until fall kill? Celery takes a long time to grow, so no. Celery takes a long time. So we start celery as the first actual green plant that we start. You know, probably about the same time as onions. And it's just now getting to be to where I'm picking it. So I'm juicing, 3-4 times a week. We're juicing. And celery is a major part of that. And so we, you just cut the outside and it comes again. So no, it will last all season. And even after, it will last until hard frost. It will last until it doesn't get above freezing. I mean, it's very hardy. So it will last a long time. And what I do with it is once the frosts start coming and I know its days are limited, then I will use it to make bone broth. Lots of bone broth in the fall time, because then that's what I will eat all winter long. Yeah. So a couple of things, guys. Hopefully you watch my fall gardening video, but I just want to remind you guys, do not be starting up your fall stuff in things like this. Do not start them up in these tiny little cell trays. Don't start them up even in those 4-pack cell trays. That's still not enough. You want to start things up, you need at least this much soil, preferably that much, because it gives you so much more leeway as far as the health to maintain a healthy plant, as opposed to if it's not ready to go in the ground yet. If you just have this tiny little cell trays, the plants are going to suffer big time and become stunted. So you need to have plenty of space for your fall stuff, okay? It's different than the spring stuff. Just wanted to remind you of that. So, okay, guys. Whoa, it's been 92 minutes already. Man, all right. Okay, guys. Well, so check out the Amazon storefront. Anything that I use that I approve of is in the Amazon storefront. And if you do shop on Amazon, use that link to get into Amazon. Then we get the credit for anything that you buy during that browser session window. So let's do that. If you guys shop on Amazon, just get to Amazon through the Garden Like a Viking storefront link. That's the key. All right? Because it's better than Amazon keeping it all. Why not? And then I will see you guys right here. So for the Thrive Live Tribe, that will be 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday on the Thrive Like a Viking channel. We've been really killing it. The past couple weeks has been wonderful. So the topics, the discussion has been good. So we're going to carry on with that. Nice meaty topics, yeah? Let's see here. Marina Vongsa, $5. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, let's see here. Thank you for the tip via PayPal. Says, thank you. Your sulfur saved my red noodle pole beans. Question, the BF growing Alibabas. Any tips now they're sprouting? Okay, so if you're growing Alibaba watermelons, they like a rich soil. They like a rich soil and they do not compete well with weeds. So plant them in an area. They will get big. The Alibabas are full-size melons and full-size plants. They are not they're no joke. So if they have everything that they need, meaning a consistently cool root zone, then you will have abundance. So watch the video that I made on how to grow melons and squash. And that is going to give you the tips that you need as far as maintaining the right soil conditions and what those plants are going to like. All right. So there we go. See if there's any last minute thing. Yes, Freebird says Mondays are such a blessing and an awesome way to start the week. Yes, we appreciate you being there. Definitely as well. Val Thatcher also there. Thank you. Mom Computer says I was late. We'll re-watch the entire thing. Yeah, I was wondering where you were. Let's see here. Brian's Garden. One of these days I will make it for a whole live stream. Stay well. Yes. Okay, guys. Jason, do you use molasses? Yes, only in aerated compost tea and 2 of the hydrolysate recipes, but that's it. Let's see here. Okay, Andrew Campbell, I see that you are requesting a consultation. I will get to that here in just a moment. Once I sign off, I will respond. So, all right, guys, thank you very much for everything. We will see you next time. Hopefully, we're going to be, hopefully we will be like this. Oh, well. Hopefully, we'll be like that next time. All right, guys.